I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBN, we're uncovering the shocking true story behind Blowback, the unintended consequences of exposing a fraud. It's written by a terrific author. Her name is Amy Block-Joy. This gripping first-person memoir reveals how one faculty member at the University of California, Davis uncovered a $2.3 million scandal only to face retaliation, betrayal, and ethical breakdowns. This book is a must read for anyone concerned about workplace integrity, whistleblower retaliation, and the hidden costs of doing what's right. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her on television today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below the interview. Amy, great to see you here today.
Thank you, Logan. I'm really happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Talk to us a little bit about your role at UC Davis and how it led you to uncover this fraud.
Well, it's a mind-blowing experience. In fact, if you don't mind, I'd like to share an anecdote. I think that will give the audience a good picture about how these things happen to someone like me. So at the time, at UC Davis, I was on the faculty. I was also the director of a federally funded $14 million nutrition program. And as director, I was preparing the annual plan. So what I have to do during that time is I have to review and edit a lot of proposals. So was working at home, and I left all my work in the kitchen. And so when I got to Davis, I asked my assistant, her name is Beverly, and Beverly is a character in all my books. So I asked my assistant, I worked with her for 10 years, very efficient, effective program manager. So I asked Beverly to bring me the copy from the files, which she did promptly. And then she left. I looked at the copy she gave me, and wow, there was a really big difference between the one I had at home and the one that she gave me. The difference was $150,000. She or someone had inflated the budget. The one at home was $60,000. This one was $210,000. And in fact, there was a note in the margin of the budget spreadsheet that said $150K for RS. So $150,000 for RS, and RS stands for Raymond Savage. Raymond Savage is a fictional name for a person, a real life person who's in all my books also. Raymond Savage is the chair of my department and also my boss and supervisor. And I couldn't believe, I thought, what's going on? So I decided I'd do a deeper dive and look into the files. So I waited till Beverly went home, and then I went into the file room, a very large room with lots and lots of cabinets of files, and they were all locked, and I didn't have a key. That surprised me. So I waited till the next morning. And when Beverly came in, I asked her to unlock the files, which she did promptly. And I pulled open one cabinet, one file, and it was filled with maybe 200 file folders and one bright red one, which caught my attention, obviously. And the label on the file said Raymond Savage. And I thought, that's interesting. So I took it out, I opened it up, and what I saw knocked my socks off. There were only 3 pages, but it was the top page. I took that page, I put it in my purse. I went back to my office after shutting the cabinet door and studied it. There were so many red flags on that one piece of paper. It was a purchase order, which Beverly does. She types up purchase orders, and then she gives them to me and I approve them. I'm the person with signature authority. But in this case, Beverly had typed up the purchase order, but she had approved it herself. Not supposed to do that. And she also wrote in her handwriting, pick up from vendor. We normally don't pick up items that we purchase from the vendor. The other red flags were the price. It was $1,500. We normally only spend $300 on supplies and equipment. And the strange thing was, I didn't know what it was. There was no description. It was just stated Canon Optura. I had no idea what a Canon Optura was. So I decided I'd call the vendor and find out. So the vendor is a discount electronics goods store near Davis in Sacramento. I called them and they told me a Canon Optura was a mini camcorder, a video recorder, which also plays videos. And I hung up and I realized at that moment that this could be embezzlement because we don't purchase video equipment. We buy already prepared videos. So this would be considered inappropriate. Now, policy dictates I'm supposed to report this to my supervisor, my boss, the chair of the department, Raymond. But Raymond really likes Beverly. And actually, I really like Beverly too. I considered her a friend and a trusted colleague. So I thought this is really out of character. What's going on? And I decided that if I reported to Raymond, I would probably get in trouble. If I told Beverly, she might just make something up. So I had to really do some investigating and soul searching. So since I'm a scientist, I decided I would do a little research. So I watched episodes of Law and Order on TV. And that really helped because I had to really dig deep on how to take care of this. So what I did was I planned a meeting for a few days later, and I was going to have Beverly in the meeting. I was going to confront her and have a witness there, my boss, Raymond Savage, and I wasn't going to tell them what the meeting was about. I was just going to let them know, and then I could watch what happened. So because I was so nervous, I wrote up what I was going to say. I was afraid that I would sound accusatory and blow the whole thing. So I wrote up a 4-sentence letter to Beverly and closed I stapled the documentation to it, and I was just going to go over the facts. So I had the meeting. I sat Beverly near the door. I didn't know what kind of reaction she would have. Would she run? Would she cry? I had no idea. And then I started the meeting by closing the door and saying to the two people who didn't know, they thought it was just a regular budget meeting, that I had something confidential to discuss with them. And then I read my letter out loud, and I watched Beverly. She was poised, no emotion at all. Raymond was very, very nervous. And then I said to Beverly, I turned and faced her and said, Beverly, where's the camcorder? And she said, it's in my garage. So at that point, I thought that, she had confessed. However, Raymond woke up from his stupor and he said, Beverly, is it still in the box? And I kind of guessed what he was trying to do. He was hoping that she could just take it back and everything would go away. But instead, I said, Beverly, isn't this the camcorder you were using to film your son's basketball games? And she nodded and she said yes. So I felt I had a full confession. And then I went through the sorts of things we needed to do. We need to change your job description. You need to pay back the university. Please write me a check for $1,500. We need to monitor you for 6 months. And then Raymond interrupted me and he said, this is my directive. We are going to forget the whole thing. Yes, Beverly will write a check. Yes, you can change your job description and monitor her. But everything that has been done about this will go into my personal vault in his office, things that he keeps secure. And so Beverly got up, poised as ever. She had no emotion whatsoever. And she walked out of the room very dignified. And then I was left with Raymond. I figured that he and I would have kind of a heart-to-heart. I would say, this was so surprising. I didn't expect this. And he would agree, but the exact opposite happened. He started attacking me. The first thing he said was, I thought she was your friend. How could you do this to Beverly? You're accusing her of embezzlement. That's not what friends do. And then he kind of changed tone. I didn't say anything. He changed tone and said, oh, this happens all the time at Davis. It's no big deal. You don't have a position like I do and see this happening. And I thought to myself, no, I've been at Davis for 15 years. This doesn't happen. This is a big deal. But I didn't say anything. And then I started to say, well, we need to report this. And he just put up his hand and said, stop. He said, what we're going to do is you're going to keep quiet. And then he said to me, and by the way, people have been complaining about you. Just last week, someone was in my office. I could feel the intimidation, the threats beginning. So I just kind of pulled myself together and stood up and said, yes, you're right. You're my boss. I will follow your direction, and kind of backed out of the office.
Right.
So, Logan, that was the beginning of 5 years of trying to report wrongdoing and getting stopped and silenced and harassed the whole time.
When you work for what is essentially a corrupt organization, if you go against that, they're coming after you. That's the sad part, right?
Yes, that's the
Yeah.
sad part. I
Yeah.
mean, luckily, there are good people at Davis, and these bad apples don't represent the institution, but they certainly have a lot of power over, an individual. And I thought because I was a director of the program, I had a good record, that I was on the faculty, that I had more power than I actually did. And this is why I need to warn other people, because you're fighting an institution when you report wrongdoing.
Amazing. Did you wind up losing your job because of this?
Well, that's really interesting. So there were many investigations, and like I said, it was 5 years. And there were two investigations against me, which are detailed actually in another book called Retaliation that I wrote. But I did not lose my job. In fact, after the retaliation complaint I filed, I won that complaint, and the university negotiated with me. And what I decided, people had stopped talking to me. There were all sorts of things they did. My car was tampered with, vandalized. One of the tires, the lug nut, was removed, so I had an accident on the freeway. I mean, I had no idea how this, I thought it was 1,500. It grew and grew and grew to 2.3 million. So there were a lot of people that wanted to stop me. And it's interesting because the retaliation is really the message to try to discredit the whistleblower, because they think if they can discredit the person who reports the wrongdoing, they can discredit the wrongdoing. So I learned a lot of lessons. I did not lose my job. I negotiated a new position. And because I thought, this program, I got to stay being director for several more years, but it was very hard, people not wanting to work with me. So I got a new position. And then later I got a new job at UC Berkeley, where I am currently working.
Amazing, amazing. Final question. We only have about a minute left. You were trying to do the right thing. You were trying to expose fraud and abuse of the system, of money that should be rightfully part of the universities and hence the students. After facing all of this blowback, do you regret trying to do the right thing?
I'm asked that question so frequently. Not at all. In fact, I usually quote Eleanor Roosevelt, who said, "You must do the things you cannot do." And this is about moral courage. This is about doing what's right, no matter what, no matter the consequences. I do not regret it. The only thing that I would do now, if I had to do it again, is I would do it much better.
Well, now you know what you were dealing with. You didn't realize Raymond was a snake as well, and was probably digging into the piggy bank as well, and turning a blind eye to this and turning a blind eye to that. And if anybody came forward, and basically right away, he's saying, "You're going to get fired. I've already received complaints about you." So he was a snake. Sometimes you don't realize you're dealing with a snake. And powerful lessons in this book. It's a story of a woman's courage. The name of the book is Blowback: The Unintended Consequences of Exposing a Fraud, a powerful true story that reveals the real risks and moral courage needed to be a whistleblower and get things done and enact change. Thank you so much for joining us here today on GBN.
Thank you, Logan. It's been a great opportunity for me.
It's been great having you on the show, Doctor. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford for the Global Book Network. So long for now.